What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Devy Royale YouTube channel. I am your host, as always, Kevin Coleman at DuBois_22. And we are back with the Devy Royale in 5, a quick snippet of a transfer player, someone coming out of there and going to a new school. And we have an interesting case today. And I think someone who I really like coming out of high school didn't have a traditional kind of career. And I think, it was because of health. And that's going to be JT Daniels, former USC, former Georgia quarterback, going to West Virginia, new Mountaineer. And, this kid, 6'3", 210, came out of high school as one of the top-rated recruits. And you'll see what he did. In 2018, he had 2,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions at USC. Looked okay when he was at USC. He played in 11 games that year. Looked really good in terms of hey, he could be that next guy. He got thrown in there and hey, let's see what he has. Next year, he tears his ACL, gets hurt, has to sit out. Then he loses his job to Keaton Slovis. And that obviously is not a very good thing, since Slovis lost his job to Jackson Dart and then transferred to Pittsburgh. So we've seen him do this. Then in 2020, he didn't start the season off. In the COVID year, he transferred to Georgia, didn't start the season off because of the he couldn't get cleared medically. Then he comes in, has a pretty good end of the year run, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, played in 4 games. He did that in just 4 games. He looked really good. And then again, the injury kind of didn't do him any favors in 2021. Something was going on there. Stetson Bennett gets the job, and then Stetson Bennett wins the national title. So then he transfers. So when we're talking about JT Daniels, he has not had a career that many thought he would. And many thought maybe he would come out this year, but he ends up going to West Virginia. So let's just talk about his strengths and what we like from him. So NFL arm, he has the arm. He's a polished passer with good arm strength, accuracy and tight windows. When he sets his feet and he goes, he has good accuracy and he can get it in tight windows. You like that. I think he does very good in pre-snap reads. He can read defenses really well. And when you watch his progressions, even at all the places he's been, I thought that was one of his strengths. And he's not afraid to attack windows either. When he goes at it, he'll throw it in the windows. We'll see that on the tape we're going to watch here in a little bit. I think he's intelligent. I think he can pick up things very quickly. He's been in different systems. So I like that. I like what he's been able to do. And he has good yards per attempt. The year Mac Jones won the Heisman, he was second to Mac Jones he had 11 yards per attempt, about 11.3 adjusted yards per attempt. He pushes the ball downfield. So those are his strengths. Those are things we like to see. His weaknesses, though, I think aggressiveness can be a weakness because he could throw a lot of interceptions. It got better that year that we saw in 2020, but what is it coming for? What can that be? Is he going to be too aggressive, trying to push too much? He has really inconsistent footwork. He has great accuracy until his footwork messes up. And in mobility, his ACL tear, his mobility, and will he get cleared medically? I think we saw this with Carson Strong. We like Carson Strong's arm, then he goes undrafted. That medical is a big piece of this puzzle. And I think that is with question mark from a Devy perspective of what you can expect from him. Now, plenty of people have him rostered, though, because he was such a high recruit coming in. And this is one of those things we talk about at the Devy Royale when we talk about freshman quarterbacks. Be careful where you're drafting these guys. Don't draft them too high in Devy, because then stuff like this happens and you're left sitting there and he's a roster clogger, right? Now, if we watch his tape, though, from his time at Georgia, you're going to see he has the ability to push the ball downfield. You see here Jermaine Burton. And and when we talk about Jermaine, we talk about how good he looked with him when he had a quarterback that could push the ball downfield. This is why we are projecting Jermaine to be very good with Bryce Young, is because of what we saw with Daniels. And this is what he did. This is what you'll see here. Again, Jermaine was one of his favorite targets. He gets it down deep. He's able to kind of create that separation and give him a angle to pass. He's good at the back shoulder throws. He gets it to his receivers and goes, and you'll see a little aggressiveness. He's not afraid to throw it in traffic, which can be a good or bad thing, like we kind of mentioned about his weaknesses. But again, you'll see this, and I like what I see from JT when he's healthy and he's ready to go, because he has that NFL arm. You'll see it there. Gets it into pocket, gets down deep. You'll see this rope right here on the money to Jermaine. Those are the things that you love to see with JT as a quarterback. Those are the things that kind of elevate himself. Now, what do we do with him at West Virginia? So a couple things. Obviously, we know Neil Brown has not been great there, 17 and 18. What's that offense going to look like, right? Hasn't had the greatest talent there. JT, is his knee ready? I think the question mark for them is there. And then their schedule is really tough. I mean, when I looked at their schedule, they're playing 11 and 12 game against Power 5 opponents. That's something, right? So when we think of it, there's not going to be any cakewalks there. When you're looking at Pittsburgh, first game of the year, that's a big test for JT to see what he can do. Kansas City, a W. Should be, right? But who knows? Towson should be a W. But then they have Virginia Tech, Texas, Baylor, obviously, like all those schools that we're going to see here. They have a tough schedule, and so what will Daniels do? I think that's the key in this offense. Can he get there? In my opinion, you're going to hold him because you probably spent pretty high draft capital. But if he has a couple good games, you sell him. Like you sell it as a Devy asset because of that injury history, because we got precedent with Carson Strong and what we've seen with JT. I just feel like you got to try to get something from him. Draft picks, something out there if you can. Most Devy managers are smart. There's some, though, that aren't. And if he has a couple of good games, people start talking about him as, hey, that QB3 is, hey, who's going to be the QB3 of this class? Look at, he's got an NFL arm. I just stay away from that knee injury. I think that's the key is like, hey, I don't want to, with the mobility issues and that knee, that's a red flag to me, and I'm going to be out there. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is the Devy Royale in 5. Hit that like and subscribe button. Look at our this or that series that we've been doing, me and Anthony. And hey, just give us some support if you like the channel. We appreciate you guys when you do it. Hit that sub button. We're trying to get to 300 before the season starts, and it's a grind. And also want to point out that we do have a Patreon. Make sure you go check that out, Devy Royale Patreon, and I'm going to hit that outro, and I'll see you guys later.